And this guidance comes from the Obama administration, and that administration, we don't know what's coming next, and we've only got a year and a half or so where that's going to be the same people who made this guidance are the people who are going to be in charge. And I don't want to get into the presidential options, but I think anyone can agree that there is a wild variety of people who are in play right now, and so that you may see that there's a lot of doubt of where this may go moving forward. And rightfully so. But it's important to remember, I think, what's more important is who's on the Supreme Court. So if that changes, that's really what will be more likely to change a lot of this interpretation, because this really does track the Supreme Court decision. And then the other thing that's important to remember, I think, is that's why it hinges so much on socioeconomic status, because the thought is that the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution deals a lot more in racial classifications, whereas socioeconomic status is not what's called a suspect class. It doesn't have the same history of discrimination as discrimination on the basis of race or gender or those types of things have. So that's why there's going to be such a strong preference, one of the many reasons there's going to be such a strong preference for socioeconomic diversity in all of this. So I think that's just something important to keep in mind, that all this could change. And I don't even want to guess at how the court will rule on a wide variety of things. Whether it's gay marriage or health care or the inflation of footballs, I'm almost always wrong trying to guess on what the court's going to do about this stuff. But so there is no need to guess when it comes to socioeconomic status. It's just not a suspect class. It only is subject to what's called rational basis review, which means you just have to have a pretty reasonable reason for trying to do it and some pretty good evidence for why it would work. And for the reasons that Dr. Mickelson has explained, and the reasons recognized in Brown versus Ford, we have a very compelling interest in trying to achieve diversity because of the wonderful impact it seems to have on students and bears out in the research. But I want to get to my questions, and I was long at the beginning. I think I had too much coffee on the way, so I'll go a little bit short on this one, and I look forward to hearing questions about any of this. Thank you.
Roz has been helping me over a long time, going back more than 10 years, and I'm grateful. I do want to say that personally, I'm not speaking for the Board of Education, though there are 9 of us who make these decisions. For me, diversity really does matter, and I am hopeful that we will find a way to make this work. I'm also aware that we are a very different county than we were 30 or 40 years ago. It is really difficult to get across the county at the times that school kids are needing to go across the county if they're going to go far, far away from home to go to school. And that's different than it was 40 years ago. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do something. It doesn't mean we shouldn't open up opportunity and some way of kids being able to parents being able to choose where they go. But we do need to recognize that. I think also one of the things that Roz said is so important, that we aren't the same community we were. We simply are not. And so many of us are new. I've only been here 28 years. So I was not here at the beginning of anything. I came in 1988. We have so many people who are here who don't know what our history was and don't know what the gains were through our mandatory busing assignment, that they think that they couldn't have been good. After I had a tour with Tom Hanchett, who has been the what's his title? Historian at the Levine Museum of the New South. A tour with Peter Gorman, our brand new superintendent. Actually, it was my second tour, where Tom took the superintendent and me around to show us how we got to this place of where we live and how we live where we live and what our schools look like, and even why Queens Road is so confusing. It became clear to me that anybody who really wanted to live in Mecklenburg County should have a meeting with Tom Hanchett and go through that whole process before moving here, so that they could understand something of the pride we have in being a star in the crown of education for so long. But most people don't do that, and so we have to do something else, and that's where y'all come in with your activism, your telling all your friends what you believe and think, and education. I want to give just one kind of philosophical thing. My other life is as a pastor at Plaza Presbyterian Church, where I came 28 years ago. Through my work, I have discovered that soon after this nation was founded, we were all fluent. Basically, everybody was fluent in 3 languages. There was the language of the faith that brought many people here. There was the language of this new civic society that we were establishing. And there was the language of the marketplace. In our society today, we've lost the language of the faith in large measure, at large. We've lost the civic language. And so everything now has to fit into the marketplace language. So even those of us who think education is different from business, we talk about the bottom line. That isn't faith language, that isn't civics language, that is economic language. Everything has to be economically founded anymore. And that is a detriment to education of children, in my opinion. That we have got to find a way to raise education back to a level that we can talk about education without having to talk about the bottom line or the bang for the buck or the whatever the return on investment. I mean, what in the world? When you're talking about children. Anyway, just an editorial thing at the end. Again, thank you. Look forward to questions.
I made the comment that we could revitalize and diversify our school system with under 3 conditions. Number 1, if there's public support for diversity, and polling for the last 10 years indicates there is support for diversity among voters. Secondly, I said that there are some specific steps that we could take, and I want to mention them very quickly. First of all, in the short run, we need to face what we call second-generation segregation via grouping, special ed assignment, and academic tracking. Because we can have a school that is diverse by numbers, but inside of it, the school kids are resegregated by tracking and grouping. So we need to put that on the agenda, number 1. Number 2, cite new schools and locations that facilitate diversity. Draw the attendance boundaries in ways that facilitate diversity. Increase use of magnets. The devil is in the details. We don't want a partial magnet that resegregates kids within the school, and we don't want a full magnet to displace neighborhood children who want to go there. So the magnets are one of our strongest tools in our kit. And also we have to foster authentic inclusion in schools through meaningfully diverse academic and social interaction. That's curricula, that's the nature of teachers, that's the extracurricular, and so on. Now there's some more ambitious steps. That all can be done tomorrow, what I just said. I mean, it can't be done tomorrow, but we don't need to redesign the pupil assignment plan. The more ambitious step is to redesign the pupil assignment plan. And one of the ways to do that is to recalibrate the assignment priorities. You all received this document from Tom, and in it has something called a decision matrix, where it lists the 4 criteria: homeschool, stability, predictability, diversity, and effective use of capital resources. Well, currently, homeschool gets 6 of 12 points, if I'm not mistaken. Why? Why is that, what gives that as much weight as diversity? Why not, 6 times what diversity gets, 3 times whatever I said. No, diversity is 2 plus 2, so it's 3 times what diversity is. So we need to rethink this and ask what can we do that's better. We need to coordinate school and housing policy. If we are going to honor parents' desires at some level to have their children go to schools that are close, then we can't have diverse schools if our neighborhoods continue to be segregated on race and class. And there's a whole set of reasons why this makes sense for economic development, for transportation, for workplace, and so on and so forth. The last thing I want to talk about, the third condition, is what we call social purpose politics. And this is the notion that citizens come together around a vision of what's best for the entire community, not just their own family. This is not sacrificing your child on some altar of failed social experiment. This is really saying, what kind of a world do I want my child to live in? What maximizes both my own self-interest and the interest of my community? That's social purpose politics. That's what Mecklenburg County did when we implemented SWAN, and it's very important for us to consider ways to engage that spirit once again. Thank you.